DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals.
Hi there, folks. Welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson. I'm glad that you joined us today. We're going to have a special guest, Dr. Dee Griffin. And DocTalk is on the road. And Dr. Griffin is from the University of Nebraska, and we're going to be talking about beef quality assurance. Stay tuned. Thanks for joining us.
As dependable as the sunrise, in dairy parlors, open pastures, on ranches and feed yards across America, a place where reputation is more than a name, where the science of healthier animals is a way of life. It's the responsibility that drives who we are and what we do. Every decision, every day. It's your livelihood and our responsibility.
Closed caption brought to you by AgriLabs, the perfect pairing of performance and value.
This segment brought to you by the new Hired Hand Portable Cow Sprayer. For more information, visit cowsprayer.com.
Welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
Well, folks, this is Dr. Dee Griffin, and Dr. Griffin is a professor at the University of Nebraska. He's a veterinarian and has been one of the people that has taught many, many veterinary students, practitioners, and has spent a lot of time in veterinary practice and feedlots as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about beef quality assurance, which Dr. Griffin knows more than most anybody I know about beef quality assurance.
Yeah, they once thought I was crazy.
Yeah, but now it's the staple. It's the cornerstone of beef production. It's the cornerstone of some of the things that we do in veterinary, most of the things we do in veterinary practice. So let's talk a little bit about the history of beef quality assurance.
Yeah, it takes us back about 22 or 3 years. Kind of got its start when the government decided that we had too many residues. And when they showed up in the beef country, we thought they were picking on us. Turns out they were picking on, not us, but they wanted everybody to clean up their act. 1980, the antibiotic residue rate in cattle was 1.8%. In swine, it was over 4.5%. And over 30% of all the canned fruits and vegetables in the United States had violative pesticide residues.
Wow.
In 1980. I happened to be at the time working with Hitch Enterprises, and when I first came to work for that Mr. Ladd Hitch, they fed about 300,000 head of cattle a year and owned a couple of packing houses. Pretty good sized farmers as well. He had a couple of letters from the FDA over violative residues. And he calls me in and he says, young man, which back in those days I was, he says, we haven't spent 100 years building this operation. It's a family business. To have our name blackened by two $500 calves. He says, I don't know how this happened, but I don't want it to ever happen again.
And that was over a drug residue?
Drug residue, a penicillin and terramycin. Turns out there was actually then a third one showed up about the same time with erythromycin. But I set out to figure out what was going on, and we were following. They had a phenomenal record system, and all the residue, all the withdrawal times on the labels were being followed to the letter of the law. Had records in triplicate. It was, and when I finally chased it down, we had animals that had been turned loose, had been treated. We followed the residue withdrawal times, but they still had vital liver residues.
So then we had to figure out a way to get them stopped, and that started BQA. Let me take us to a break. When we come back, let's pick back up on this.
Okay.
It's a great story. Thanks for joining us. You're watching DocTalk.
Healthy cows start with the new hired hand automatic livestock sprayer. Rancher invented to provide an efficient alternative to pour-on and injectable parasite management systems. The portable design allows cattle to treat themselves head to hoof. Strategic device placement with pass-through activation technology takes the stress out of parasite treatment for cattle and the rancher, leaving more time to tend to other vital tasks on the farm. To learn more, visit cowsprayer.com. The new hired hand makes healthy cows easy.
This Meet the Future Veterinarian is brought to you by Zuprevo. Choose confidence. Choose Zuprevo for BRD treatment. Lacey Robinson is a fourth-generation producer who grew up on an Angus cattle operation. Her interest in food animal medicine runs deep. Working on the ranch from a young age helped develop her love for all aspects of beef production and animal husbandry. She and her fiancé have a small Angus herd in the Flint Hills north of Manhattan and market bulls to commercial cattlemen.
Some call it a come-from-behind victory, an unlikely win, a reversal of fortune, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. This is our moment, our victory dance, because we choose confidence. We choose Zuprevo for BRD treatment. Ask your veterinarian to prescribe Zuprevo. Zuprevo is a fast-acting, long-lasting BRD treatment that you can count on to get the job done. Choose confidence. Choose Zuprevo from Merck Animal Health.
Through the generosity of Dr. Eva Gardner and Dr. Dan Thomson, Kansans now have the opportunity to support the wildfire relief effort by purchasing a signed and numbered print of the original painting, A Walk Through Henry's Dreams, by Dr. Gardner. This gallery quality print is only $200. Order your print today online or call 785-273-5115. Please help support the Kansas Livestock Foundation Wildfire Relief Fund.
Horn flies are a nuisance and a production loss, so getting rid of the problem is important. What I like about the vet gun is you don't have to go out there weekly to treat them with a topical fly applicant. It has some duration, it lasts. You see the increase in weight gain, it just works. I've used it on our 1,500 cow-calf operation, and it makes me more confident in saying, hey, this product's gonna work on your operation too.
This segment brought to you by the new hired hand portable cow sprayer. For more information, visit cowsprayer.com.
Folks, welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Dee Griffin from the University of Nebraska. He's a professor and he's a feedlot veterinarian who helped invent what we call today the Beef Quality Assurance Program. And as we left, we're following everything to the letter.
Well, we were talking about having some animals that rang up a positive residue, and we had followed what we thought were all the requirements. What we weren't doing is all of us, when we went to school a gazillion years ago, learned that, you know, if you want to use penicillin, for instance, to get a proper dose, it required about 5 times the dose that was on the bottle. And we adjusted that dose, but we didn't adjust withdrawal times. And it wasn't until that point that we figured out that when you use drugs in a manner other than they're labeled, you change the withdrawal times. And that was sort of the light come on. And actually it wasn't just a aha moment, we actually did the work to figure out what the issues were. So we started trying to figure out how to hold animals longer or test, and we adopted a test that the federal or USDA was using in packing houses for urine. Started checking urine, and when the feds showed up and said, we've got to do something, Mr. Hitch called me in and he says, I'm going to volunteer our organization, because the Texas guys were kind of wanting to kill somebody, or they weren't, you know, what's going on here.
Right.
They were really suspicious. And he said, I just got to know, are we gonna be clean? And I said, if if we change the way we handle the withdrawal times on animals that we use medications off other than their label, yeah, we're clean. And we signed a 40-page memorandum of understanding, and for 2 years they went through all of our books, tore everything apart. Everything was good. And the Texans, Richard McDonald in particular, took that 40-page document, summarized it on a card you could put in your pocket with 6 bullet points, and those 6 bullet points became the first guidelines for beef quality assurance. At the time, we call it safety assurance. And everybody kind of thought about that, and it sort of implied that, well, maybe beef's not safe, and so quality kind of fell out on the table, and that's where it got its start. And those 6 guidelines are still the 6 guidelines today. We've added a couple to that. We were focusing on residues from antibiotics, pesticides, that sort of stuff. And somewhere in the middle of it, finally the light again came on and said, you know, if you handle these animals as the creatures from, precious creatures from God that they are, they won't get sick. If they don't get sick, they don't have an injection site, they don't have a residue. So put animal care, animal husbandry first, and a lot of this other stuff will take care of itself, and that's kind of where we are today.
It's a great story. It's a great service to our industry and to our profession. Let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk about how simple it is.
Sure.
Thanks for watching DocTalk.
The BQA Tip of the Day, sponsored by Behringer Ingelheim Vet Medica, Inc.
I'm Dr. Kip Lukasevich with Production Animal Consultation. Today's BQA Tip of the Day is proper implanting technique. It's a really important implant that we give these animals at arrival or delayed implanting, whichever it may be, is that we do a proper job of doing it. Implants today give you a rate of return of about $30 to $60 and sometimes up to $80 pending the implant. And so it's just really important that we get that implant in correctly. It's really important that we have disinfect the ear on arrival. So if we have a clean bucket for just the initial wash, and then disinfection for just a final scrub, and then we actually have our implant gun where we have the disinfectant that we should always change that disinfectant every 200 head or in between pins and keep that fresh. And then disinfect your needle each time in between each animal. If you skip off the ear, also disinfect that needle. Don't just go on an implant. And so that's your tip of the day.
It's easy to spot the man who uses Synanthic. With lower volume and less waste, Synanthic steps up your deworming routine. Get more deworming with less dewormer at Synanthic.com.
Behringer Ingelheim Vet Medica Inc. knows the importance of beef quality assurance and asks you to step up and get certified. Go to bqa.org for details.
Broadband has become as important to us as highways. That is why DocTalk is teaming up with NTCA, the Rural Broadband Association, and rural broadband companies like Blue Valley Telecommunications in fighting for quality broadband access through the program Smart Rural Communities.
I don't think we have any idea what's coming in the future. I couldn't have imagined 5 years ago what we're doing today. So in 2 years, I would guess there's things we can't imagine that we're going to be doing.
To learn more, visit ntca.org/smart or bluevalley.net. Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Folks, welcome back to DocTalk. I'm here with Dr. Dee Griffin, and Dr. Griffin is a professor at the University of Nebraska and veterinarian, feedlot veterinarian. And one of the things that you told me about BQA is that it's simpler than you think.
Yeah, one of the things that maybe frustrate people is they think it ought to be hard. And we have a manual that's very, very complete with all sorts of standard operating procedures and examples of forms they can use to keep track of stuff. But everything you really need to do, you could put on a 3x5 card, put it in your pocket. It's a little bit like the Bible. It's a big old thick book, and you can take out what you really need to do, put it in your pocket, and live a pretty good life. Jesus would be proud.
That's right.
But when you put that all together, we have a series of guidelines, and the guidelines address care and husbandry. So if you take care of them as the precious creatures they are, and do all the management things they need to have, the vaccinations and the proper, just care for them like they deserve. The chances of them getting sick are greatly reduced.
Right.
If they don't get sick, you don't have any injection site issues. You don't have any residue issues. There's no chance for a broken needle in the meat. I mean, really. So you start with something that's really, really simple, and that eliminates the majority of the problem. When you start thinking about the other problems, they're chemical, physical, and microbiologic. Those are the targets for food safety around the world. Chemical would deal with residues, antibiotic. If we use something to control parasites or flies and lice, we don't want any of that product to wind up in the meat. So it's a really simple matter of following the guidelines that EPA sets out for the use of that, or FDA sets out for the use of the antibiotics, or USDA sets out for the use of vaccines. Really straightforward, and you don't have a chemical issue. And they give us plenty of latitude to make adjustments for the best needs of the calf.
Right.
Health and well-being should never be jeopardized based on some kind of government regulations, but neither should the safety of the food, and we know how to do that. Then comes come physical. So things like a broken needle. Nobody really wants to. You might think an 18 gauge needle would be like a toothpick in your roast, would be a value added thing, but most people don't see it that way. But if you buy good needles, if you ever bend or damage a needle, you change it. You don't. And understanding how that kind of stuff happens. One of the things that we say in quality assurance is there are no most valuable players. So everybody's in on this deal. And one of the things that we learned early on is if you get really good restraint, they don't wiggle, they don't bend a needle.
Right.
And the last one is microbiologic. We do the best we can. You feed clean feeds, you don't cross-contaminate, you make sure the nutritionist doesn't step in the bunk as he's going on into the pen. So if I have any cow manure in my cow's pen, you got to keep the nutritionist kind of in line.
We'll try our best. Let's take a break, and let's come back, and let's talk more about BQA and keeping it simple.
When looking at the number of farm and ranch operations, the USDA Census of Agriculture says cattle and beef production is the largest single segment of American agriculture. The census also says the average age of the American cattle farmer or rancher is in the late 50s. In order to support the continuous supply of U.S. beef, these producers need to do some business planning to successfully transfer their cattle operations to younger, independent producers.
I'm Andy Biergo. I'm owner of Biergo Angus Farms with two of my sons, Bryson and Drew. We've been in business since 1950, and a family farm's been around for 145 years. And we've, like everybody, we've been through some good times and bad times, and doing well and having things that protect you and go forward. The beef checkoff could be one of the things that makes us global. We go to protect ourselves and protect our trading ability, and one way or another, we're going to have people that will protect us and do that. I've always had this theory that you're either doing things to advance and do better. I've never been a believer in this, it'll be normal or average. I'm a firm believer that we'll be going one way or the other. And without protection and advertisement and teaching people to believe in what we produce, it's more about producing the consumer. That's our client than maybe it is proving it to ourselves.
For me, one of the most important aspects that the Beef Checkoff provides is sustainability for future generations. My brother and I both have daughters. that we can see a future in the life that our grandfather has lived, that our father has lived, and now that we are getting to be a part of, and also the opportunities out there for our daughters now.
It was my dream when I was a little boy to own the home 80 acres, and I've always told my sons that you either need a job well enough, you can have hobbies or do what you want, or you need to have a passion for your job and what you do. And I've had a passion for cattle my whole life, and my sons have a true passion for it, and I'm very proud of how they handle the farms.
The Beef Checkoffs has given us a lot of different opportunities for our daughters to have a chance to come back and be a part of this in the future.
The new Better Horses Network is worldwide, presented by Lucas Oil, featuring worldwide radio and TV with iconic hosts like Al Dunning, Sharon Camarillo, Ernie Rodina, Lindy Birch, and Craig Cameron. With American Cowboy, Horse and Rider, Brushy Creek, Cavenders, and Ride TV. Worldwide radio and TV, the all-new Better Horses Network.
Beringer Ingelheim Vetmedica Inc. knows the importance of beef quality assurance and asks you to step up and get certified. Go to bqa.org for details.
This hog is Hanover hoof for meal made from U.S. soybeans. Now, one hog isn't that impressive, but suppose we add another, and another, and another. Before long, you've got billions of hungry customers around the world all clamoring for the same thing. Our soybeans. Learn more about the billion-dollar appetite of animal agriculture at BeyondTheElevator.com. Brought to you by America's soybean farmers and their checkoff.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Dee Griffin. He's from the University of Nebraska. He's a veterinarian and professor, and we're talking about the Beef Quality Assurance Program. We've talked about the history, and we've talked about its simplicity. Keep it simple and move it forward.
Yeah. Just to review about this simple issue, our guidelines talk about proper animal husbandry, use of feed them good feed, nice, check your feed, make sure it's not toxic feed. God didn't make corn pink, blue, or green. It ought to be yellow corn. That kind of stuff. It's pretty straightforward.
Right.
If you use products, use them as the government asks you to use them. I mean, they've been tested, researched. The labels, regardless of what most of us think, they're there for a reason. We need to read them.
Right.
Write down, the last one is write down what you do, and then check what you wrote down before you sell it. It's just that simple. Care for them as the precious creatures, feed them good stuff, use the products according to their approvals, write it down, and check what you wrote. I mean, that fits on a simple simple card.
Yep.
The neat thing about where we're headed, when I think about where we've come from and where we're headed, is because this has been one of those no most valuable player issues where everybody gets involved. I mean, everybody, not just the vets, but it's the nutritionists and the veterinarians and the suppliers and the family members of the operation. Everybody contributes. And when you think about putting all this together and you think about where it's going, we're now getting consumers involved, which is really cool. Because the consumers are looking at, we want to know how our food's raised, and we're kind of going, so what do you think? And they're kind of thinking, as an outside eye, well, can you do this a little better? And every time we listen to anybody, frequently they come up with things that we just have forgot to look at, or we didn't see what they saw. So this last step in which we have consumer input into what we're doing will likely is not only improve the life of our cattle, improve the quality of our product, but I have a saying in my office: if you abuse a cow in any fashion, I don't care how, physically, mentally, psychologically, nutritionally, environmentally, I don't care how you do it, she takes it out of our pocketbook. And as the evil capitalists that many people think we are, it is in our own best interest to do everything as best we possibly can.
Thank you. Thanks for spending time with us today. Folks, thanks for watching DocTalk. If you want to know more about the show or see archived episodes, you can see us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. Remember to always work with your local practitioner. We appreciate you watching today. Appreciate Dr. Griffin joining us today. Hope you learned a lot about beef quality assurance. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson from Kansas State University, and I'll see you down the road.
Closed caption brought to you by AgriLabs, the perfect pairing of performance and value.
For more information about this program or previous programs, go to DocTalkTV.com. DocTalk was brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals.